Hi there. Remember this list from a few weeks ago? In that video, I didn't really explain myself on why they were placed in the spots as I should have. You see, like everyone, my brain releases a select amount of happy chemicals depending on what I'm watching. My tiny brain comes in where I don't know what causes those happy chemicals to be released. So, the list I made basically represents how much of that chemical was released while watching that show. Truth be told, I have absolutely no idea what makes more or less happy chemicals, but this?
やめる時も悲しみの時もどんな困難が訪れようとも共に助けよう
Oh, this gives the good chemicals. Spy Family, or Spy X Family if you're annoying, shouldn't need any introduction if you're even slightly familiar with the anime community, considering we've been posting about it non-stop since the first episode aired. But just in case you're unfamiliar, Spy Family follows top spy Twilight and his new alias Lloyd Forger as he attempts to stop a madman from starting a war between the East and West. Unfortunately for Twilight, his target refuses to show his face except at the illustrious Eden Academy. This means for that his mission, Twilight must obtain both a child and wife and get their child accepted into Eden. And thus, comedic spy-based shenanigans occur, like Twilight's adopted daughter getting kidnapped and held hostage in episode 1. You know, just wholesome family stuff. I had never heard of the series myself until Twitter started freaking out over it, but, I mean, who was I to listen to Twitter? Until, I got bored as shit dog sitting, and then I logged into Crunchyroll, had no idea what to watch, and then the app opened and, oh, right there, front and center. By the end of episode 1, I was intrigued. By the end of episode 2, I was hooked, and by the end of episode 3, I was obsessed. Let me start with the fact that I haven't been completely honest with the plot of Spy Family, or more so, I've omitted some key details. Yor Briar, the one to play the wife, to make herself seem less suspicious to her co-workers, she asked Lloyd to pretend to be her boyfriend at a party, in which Lloyd changes it into a deal to get his daughter Anya into Eden. It's also worth noting that Yor might have a small, super unimportant side job of being an assassin. Nothing game-changing at all, nope. And as for the third member of the family, Anya, she's a cute young girl who loves peanuts, and can also read people's minds. I'm sorry, fucking what? When I entered the show, I was already aware that Lloyd was a spy and Yor was an assassin. It wasn't too surprising. But learning that Anya was a telepath threw me for such a loop that I had to pause the anime for a bit. Thus, every member of this fake family now has something to hide from each other, with Anya in the middle knowing everything that's going on, and manipulating situations to make things more exciting. This makes the dynamic between the families super interesting and also helps make scenes funnier as their identities get so close to being revealed, but no one questions why the other is doing something really strange. Lloyd and Yor have this constant back and forth going where one wonders what the other one is fucking doing or has done to be able to do the crazy shit they end up pulling off. The show pulls an excellent balance of daily comedy and action, nearly having a good fight per episode so far, which, in my opinion, makes it a perfect gateway into both worlds of anime. If you're a slice of life fan and want to see what shonen can be, or if you're a shonen fan and want, well, a slice of life, I guess. After the first 3 episodes, I became so obsessed with the series that I binged the entire manga in 2 days, and the quality keeps up. One of the most notable traits of the manga is that it doesn't really have filler so far, and when there is filler, they're clearly labeled as extra missions, but even then, I wouldn't recommend ignoring those extra missions, because some of them are really funny. Like, my favorite extra chapter is the chapter where Yor gets shot in the ass and has to go on a date with Lloyd without being able to sit down, and he just has to suffer through it. What's interesting to note is that the anime is choosing to make Lloyd's opinion on his fake family more subtle than in the manga. In episode 4, when they are fearing rejection, Lloyd seems to reminisce on their past events with a smile on his face. However, in the manga, we get a look at Lloyd's thoughts during this moment, where we see him genuinely consider staying with the family. This happens quite a bit early on, where the anime is choosing to make his feelings slightly more subtle, which I actually think is a much nicer choice and fits Lloyd better. The anime has also chosen to add some scenes, the biggest example being in the most recent episode with them adding an entirely new section of Lloyd fighting his way through the castle, and it's fucking awesome. If the show continues to add scenes like that, I can see it easily continuing to be one of the top animes on the charts, even past its original run. That said, not everything is perfect, at least in the manga, and yes, this is where your manga spoiler warning comes in. If you'd like to read the manga yourself, which I highly recommend, or watch the anime as it comes out, please jump to this timestamp. The manga faces a major issue that I was very quick to notice. Even with it only having 62 chapters, Yor is almost like a side character for a good chunk of the current manga. We have just had our first Yor-centric arc on chapter 50, and while it was really good, her development is mostly missing from the first 50 chapters, which is really sad to see considering she's one of the main characters. A random member of Lloyd's organization who coincidentally is in love with Lloyd gets an entire 5+ chapter arc dedicated to her before Yor does, and that's when I first noticed it. Despite that, it's still very well written and keeps the series style of comedy at a good, manageable level. But that's it. That's genuinely my only problem with the manga, and it's one that has already begun to be rectified. And, as demonstrated by all the new castle scenes, they could easily add some more Yor focus into the anime. Hell, My Hero does it all the time to give the rest of the class more development. Admittedly, from here on out, the fights do become less present, as it takes more of a focus on Anya working her way through Eden Academy and trying to friend Desmond's youngest son Damien, who I absolutely love. He is the fucking dumbest little kid. But don't fret, there are still plenty of high action scenes to come. After all, it's gotta keep that shonen tag somehow. And that's about it. This current anime season is absolutely popping off, and in my opinion, Spy Family is probably the biggest contributor to that. Followed by Kaguya, but you know, I have a definite bias there. The show is an excellent blend of action, comedy, and family warmth. It's a show that can bring out all kinds of emotions from the audience, and I think that's one of the most important things a piece of media can do. Earlier I mentioned I ranked my favorite shows by how much they leached from my brain, and if it isn't obvious already, the absolute brain rot this show has given me is comparable to that of my current top 3, making me pretty confident that it might become my number 4 anime. Other than the York complaint I had earlier, I only have one other, and that's the fact that there's not enough content to satiate me. I'm caught up in the manga, and at the time of writing this, I've watched all 6 episodes currently released. Sure, there's fan art, and let me say, the fan art's exquisite. One look at my Twitter likes can tell you that. But I need more. A while ago I saw a tweet claiming Spy Family wasn't a masterpiece because it didn't have some deep, life-changing story. While I won't say they're wrong on not calling it a masterpiece, I do disagree that a masterpiece has to be some deep piece of media. To me, as long as the show can bring out different reactionary emotions from the viewer, and the viewer can form a strong bond with the show, I think that's when something can be considered a masterpiece. But hey, what do I know? My brain's the size of a peanut.